Okay, so you're all very welcome to an introduction to Learn with Nala for Centre Tutors. So here's the timetable then for today. So I'm going to give a brief introduction to what Nala is as an agency, and then what is Learn with Nala, the e-learning side of what we do. I'll talk about learner accounts and tutor accounts, and the differences between those. And then I'll talk you through the sort of the practicalities of it. So how to get learners set up on the platform, how to guide them through courses, how to monitor their progress. If you do decide to do use Learn with Nala for portfolio work, then because that's an option for you, you can use it for QQI certification. I'll go through how to do that, and then I'll talk a little bit about some quick tips then that I've picked up as well. So what is Nala then? I know a lot of you be familiar with it already, but it's just important to mention it before we go into this. Nala is a charity in Ireland, and we work with adults with unmet literacy, numeracy, and digital literacy needs. We also work with organisations like the ones that you're all representing today to use a literacy friendly approach. So that could be, adapting what they do to make their services more accessible. It could be using plain English. It's a really wide variety of things. And as lots of you know, when we look at adult literacy in Ireland, we we know that the statistics are quite stark. So in Ireland, 1 in 6 adults would find everyday text difficult to understand. So that would be something like a bus timetable, or medical instructions, like, take 2 Panadol every 4 hours kind of thing. And that's about 18% of the population. So that's 500,000 people in Ireland would struggle with that. Um, and then when we look at maths, so numeracy, it's 1 in 4. So 25% of people in Ireland would have difficulties working out a discount. So kind of 25% off, or dividing up a bill if they went out for dinner with friends. The other area that now we started to look at a little bit more in the last maybe 10-15 years is digital literacy, right? It's becoming a really big thing. And in Ireland, 4 in 10 adults would struggle with basic digital tasks. So things like, looking up a website, like using something like Google, or sending an email. And so that's 52% of Irish adults would struggle with that. So I know, like, a lot of your tutors, a lot of you know this information already, but I think it's just something we always come back to remind ourselves, why all of this is important. And obviously you're encountering all the people with these needs, so it just shows, I suppose, how prevalent it is. So then Learn with Nala, what is it? Learn with Nala is Nala's e-learning platform, and it's free. It's something that learners can use, I suppose, in the privacy of their own homes if they want to, or they can do it in a centre. And it's confidential as well. It's completely flexible, so we don't put time limits on when you have to complete a course, or that you have to show up at a certain time every day. They can do it at their own pace if they'd like. Um, and it can be a blended approach, so it can be used both in a centre and at home, or exclusively in either, depending on what you want to do. And we ask that learners are age 16 and over because it's an adult service. And then a lot of you will know of our free phone and our helplines, but we have a dedicated helpline to Learn with Nala as well. That's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. At almost year round, bar Christmas and bank holidays. So we have a pretty extensive support system for Learn with Nala. Like, it's quite unusual to have that level of support, but we just find we need it for with the nature of our learners. They tend to need a little bit more guidance and support around how to use the system. And Learn with Nala is only really growing. So we have about 3,000 learners registering on the website a year. And we, I suppose, provide the support to issue about 2,000 QQI awards every year. So it's quite a big operation at the moment, which is fantastic. Um, so for yourselves then, just about the account types, we have two different types of account on Learn with Nala. So the first is a tutor account. And just for the purposes of today, I'm going to use Paula O'Connor's account. I don't know if anybody actually might know her from Fury TV, but she's one of our tutors who works with us sometimes in Nala. But she she uses the reason that Paula would use Learn with Nala is to keep track of class progress. So she uses it to, I suppose, monitor her learners and keep track on what they're doing and offer help if they need it. And then for when I'm talking about learner accounts, then I'm going to show you Mike Smith's account. And he is a learner in class and he wants to use Learn with Nala for blended learning. So he does a little bit at home and he does a little bit with Paula in class. So when I'm talking about tutor accounts today, I'm going to have Paula's this picture on the slides. And when I'm talking about learners, I'll have Mike's picture on the slides. And that's just to help you kind of keep track, because they'll be flip-flopping between the two of them. And it should help you, hopefully help you keep track of who I'm talking about. So then what is a center, right? So we're talking a lot about Learn with Nala centers. Centers are places like GRETB or like St. Joseph's Foundation, who have kind of gone out of their way to get set up on the system. And what we do then is we keep all of their learner accounts and tutor accounts tied to their centre. So say for example, Noreen won't be able to see anybody in GRETB's centre, no tutor outside, or similarly, like GRETB won't be able to see St. Joseph's Foundation's information or learners or tutors at all. It's kept within your centre. So centres usually request tutor accounts to us. So most centres, like an average size centre would have about 4 or 5 tutor accounts. Now some big ETBs have much more. Um, and your tutor accounts are automatically enrolled in all of our courses. So you can see everything. And the idea is that you can preview the courses before you recommend them to learners. Or if you want, you could take certain parts of courses that you kind of like how things are explained, and you could use them in class if that's practical for you, if you have whiteboard or something like that. And then you have learner accounts then. So when you do your training, I send out the learner link for your center to you, and you use that learner link then to sign up your learners. So once they use that link, they're tied to your center. So we have about 238 centres in Ireland, and they all have their own unique learner link that they use to register their learners. So then you have your centre, there will be other centres, and then outside of that, then we have what we call independent learners. So these are people who are using Learn with Nala without the support of tutors or without the support of an educational institution, and they just might not be ready for that yet. A lot of the time, they might start on Learn with Nala and then um, maybe develop confidence or realize that they actually could do with maybe more one-to-one support in a center. So we have quite a lot of independent learners. So it could happen to you that maybe you meet someone in your center who comes in and says, "Oh yeah, I used that before," and what we tend to recommend there is that just let them finish out whatever they're doing already, and then say if they're like, let them complete the course that they're doing, and then use your learner link and get them signed up to your center once they've finished what they're doing. So that's the information about the centers. What I'm going to do now is show you a quick video of what it looks like. So this is Learn with Nala. This is Paula's account. You can see there's a notification icon, much like a social media platform. This is something we call the waffle. It has a list of all your courses. I'll show you that in a minute. But I've just gone into functional mathematics there, and I click on content here to get the lessons. I can then click back on the home icon to get back to the tutor page. So yeah, like I was saying, it's very similar to sort of the platform, like the things we're used to seeing, like notifications and home pages and things like that. Um, Hopefully you'll find it fairly straightforward. So what I'm going to talk about now is how to get learners set up on Learn with Nala. So there are 2 steps to that. The first thing you do is you fill out the account page. So you use the learner link that I mentioned earlier. And then the second step is you help them sign up for courses. So we'll do the first part of that now. So this is an example of a learner link. It looks like something like this. So I'm going to click on this now because I just want to show you what it looks like. And now hopefully you can see that. Just shout if you have any issues viewing that. You should be able to see a Learn with Nala registration page here. So the first step then is to create a username and password. So many learners might not have done this before, so they might need a little bit of guidance from you around that. And a lot of tutors tell me that they like to have naming conventions around how they set this up. So they might choose the same kind of format for usernames, like first name dot surname, so Brona dot Conroy. Um, and then maybe the password might be where you are and the year or something like that. So, Dublin 2023 or something like that. And that can just help because inevitably someone forgets their password in the middle of a class or when you had planned on doing something with them. And there is, I'll show you later, but you can reset passwords. That's no problem. But it just takes a couple of minutes, for the email to come through. Um, Now I know in some disability settings, which might be relevant for Noreen or might not, I know tutors tell me that it's just not efficient or not helpful to ask a learner to come up with this stuff. So they will do this step for their learners. You know your learners, you'll be able to gauge what's too much for them and what's not. Um, so then we ask that they enter an email address. So if they don't have an email address, you could maybe make a Gmail account for them. And then first name, surname, their home address goes here. We already have their center address because if they're signed up with your center link, we'll know where to send their certs, and then their mobile phone number and their PPS number. And the reason we ask for a PPS number is if they're going for QQI, that QQI ask for a PPS number. Now I know one of you mentioned that you might be working with Ukrainian learners. If the learner doesn't have a PPS number, just shoot us off an email and we'll work something out. We really wouldn't like that. That's a barrier to people accessing. So just talk to us if that is an issue. Similarly, if someone is living in direct provision, it's okay to put your center address as their home address if they don't have a fixed address at the moment. It's not ideal, but it's just I know there's some difficult situations. So then date of birth, and then they're not here. It says learning center. So I'm after clicking on the learner link for NLN Hollyhill and Cork. So when you use your own learner link, this is how you know you're in the right place. The GRETB one will say GRETB. You won't, I'm clicking on this here and I can't change it. I can't edit it. So that's how you know you're linking your learners into the correct center. So it's really important to use the learner link every time you want to set your learners up on Learn with Nala. And I think that's pretty much it. You just click then, you can accept the T's and C's and then click create account, and then you're done. So hopefully that's fairly straightforward. Yeah, this slide it's the same idea. It's just make sure to check your learning center before you move on. So that's the first step done. And the next step then is signing them up for courses. So on Learn with Nala, we offer courses at level 1 to 3 of the NFQ framework. And I know this is, you probably know more about this than I do, but level 3 is roughly the equivalent of a junior cert. So that's the kind of levels we're looking at. So on Learn with Nala, you can get QQI awards for the level 2 and the level 3 courses. For level 1, you can get a Nala certificate. And it's the same for preparing for level 3 courses, that we give a Nala certificate for that as well. Preparing for level 3 is a bridge between level 2 and level 3. That's just because we got a lot of feedback from learners to say that there was a big jump when you go from level 2 to level 3. So they asked for something to kind of help get them there for level 3. Some learners and centres like to do preparing for level 3 over the summer on their own if they're very motivated and have done a level 2 in their centres. So then what I'll do now is I'll just show you our courses and how to find them. So you go to learnwithnala.ie and click Explore Courses. And this is what the web page looks like to find your courses. You can see here you can actually filter it by the subject. So you can choose reading, writing, maths, computers. You can choose what level you want to search for, or you can choose either major awards, of course, bundles, or short courses, or you can search for the course that you want. So I'm just showing you here all the different courses, and you can see on the right, some of them have NALA certificates. And then I'll keep scrolling. Once we get to level 2, then here we are, the QQI awards kick in. So you can see we kind of what you're signing up to. And then I'm going to show you now registering for courses. So I'm going to try find maths level 3 here. So I've clicked maths level 3 and I'm click search. And I'm going to try and register myself for that course just to show you how it's done. So here's all the maths courses at level 3. And here it is down the end, level 3 mathematics. I'm clicking register now. Now I'm an existing user because you've set me up with a learner account already, right? I have a username and password. So I'm entering that in now. That's what your learners will be doing. They're existing users. And I'm going to click login. And here we are, we're on a checkout page. So it's saying to me, hi Brona, thanks for registering for level 3 maths. To start your course, log in to Learn with Nala using your username and password. This is your username. If you need help, watch this video. And then it has the details of our free phone number if they need any help with accessing any of that. So that's registering for a course. Then they get the exact same information in the email that they used as well, or the email address that they used. And I met a Ukrainian learner down at our student day in Galway a few months ago, and he told me that every time he wanted to get into his course, he navigated to it through his email address or through the email that had been sent to him. So it just really hammered home to me that sometimes this is worth pointing out, that some learners will use the email every time to kind of click on the link to get to the right place. And that's it. That's getting learners set up. So you use your learner link to get them an account, and then you sign up for courses with them. And that's everything they need to really get started. So now just for this next piece, I just want to explain something to you that's helpful for you to know as tutors and people guiding learners through courses, but it's not necessarily something that I'd really be sharing with learners because it's a little bit confusing. But Learn with Nala is actually 2 websites. So the website that I just showed you there, where I was registering for courses and signing up for courses, was learnwithnala.ie. It was the blue one in the first box. That's where you do all of the signing up to courses. When you actually want to do the course and go through the lessons, you go to learn.nala.ie. So this can be a little bit confusing, and unfortunately the technology just doesn't allow us to put this all on the one website at the moment. So what I would advise doing is maybe bookmarking both of these pages. I've sent you all the PowerPoint presentation, so you have these links and you could just bookmark them and maybe call them something like signing up for courses and doing courses or something like that, just so you remember. Um, but really, your learners are going to spend about 90% of their time on the one on the right on learn.nala.ie, because that's where they're going to actually be going through everything. It's only when they want to sign up for a new course that they go to learnwithnala.ie. So the way I kind of make sense of it in my own mind, and when I was trying to learn this, was learnwithnala.ie. So the one of the kind of blue colored one is a little bit like the shop where you buy the courses. Once the courses are bought, they appear in the other website. Now, like I say, shop, everything is free, just to clarify that. But that's kind of how I imagine it. And you might remember when I signed up for Maths Level 3 there, it said checkout on the page. So it is a little bit almost like a shop. Um, so that's just something to be aware of. But really on learnwithnala.ie, on the blue one you saw there, when I signed up for the course, it said um click here to start your course, and follow this link to begin. So we do everything we can to bounce the learner into the correct website. So many of the learners never know that they're in different websites, but they just might need a little bit of help from you in terms of signing up. Um, so the next piece then is just finding your courses. So we've done a lot of work on this to make this a little bit easier for tutors and for learners. So the first way you find courses is using the waffle icon, like I mentioned earlier. And then the second one is they will just be here, be beneath your center banner. So here's the Galway Roscommon ETB being represented on the slides. But they'll just show up here beneath the banner. So it's really a lot easier than it used to be to find these. I'll show you in a video here just so to make it a little bit more accessible. So you're going to sign in on learn.nala.ie with your tutor account. And then here are your courses just right beneath the banner. You'll see them all here. So like I said, you've access to all the courses. So there'll be 48 courses here for you. And then if you want, you can subscribe to our e-zine, or this is the free phone information if you need to ask any questions. And I'm just clicking view all courses here to get more of them. So I can scroll through them all, but like I said, there's nearly 50 of them. So it's, if you're looking for something that might be a little bit cumbersome, so you can search if you want for the one you're looking for. Or the one that I tend to use is the waffle icon up here. We call it a waffle because it looks like a waffle with the 9 squares. And you see here at the top, I've pinned courses. So I've pinned the courses I'm using most often. I've clicked the little pin icon on the side, and that means they'll come up on the top of your list every time you go back in. So just if you have learners, say in reading level 2, you can keep kind of checking on that one if you want, or if you know you go into it a lot. So then we're going to look at monitoring progress for tutors. So this is the big advantage of your account type, is that you can monitor your learners' progress. So what you do, if the main thing I'd like you to remember about monitoring progress from today is that if you want to find out about a learner's progress in a particular course, you need to visit that course. So if I have 3 learners doing reading level 2 and I want to see how they're getting on, I need to go to reading level 2. I need to navigate to that course, and that's how I find the class progress. Same maths level 3. If I want to find out about that, I need to go to maths level 3. And then when you're there in the course homepage, you click course admin, or you can click class progress. So I'll show you how to do that now on maths level 3. So I want to know about my maths level 3 course. Here it is up the top of my list. So I'm clicking maths level 3. And now I'm in the course. I'm going to click on course admin, and I'm going to click class progress. So we have some anonymized learners here just because we can't share, real names, but this would be their name. So you click on their name, and then all of their grades will come up. So I click grades received. That's a drop down there. And you can see on the right hand side, they've passed a lot of this. But the last one there, it said redo. So I know that they didn't pass question 5 there. The other way I can do it is go to grades in the same menu. And this is a very visual way of seeing whether they've either passed or attempted certain tasks or lessons. You can see the red or green. You can also export this. So up the top there, I just clicked an export button and I can click what I want to know about. And I can then, once I'm happy with everything, I can click export Excel down the bottom. And this is going to prepare me an Excel spreadsheet with all the information about how my learners are getting on. I know this isn't important for every tutor, but I know in some disability settings, they have to do reporting on how learners are getting on with PDP goals. And I know, there's assessment information that's required for some people. So yeah, this could be a feature that you end up using. It saves you having to, write out reports or information about how learners are getting on. So now we're on to QQI. A lot of centres, this is the main reason they use Learn with NALA. And I now, like, to be fully honest, I'm not the expert in QQI. My colleague Joan actually looks after that, but I can give you a bit of guidance on what's needed for QQI for Learn with NALA. Generally, for the QQI awards, for the courses that you can get QQI awards for, we ask that you check the course descriptor and what's required. So in each course, you'll see the learning goals and what's needed for it. They're also available in your tutor guide as well. That's a document that's available in the help section, or you can see it as well. You probably use this already, particularly in the ETB in the Q search on qqi.ie. So on Learn with NALA, there's two things that you need to do to be eligible to go forward for QQI. So on the course, you need to have completed the end test and you need to do the portfolio work. And our portfolios on Learn with NALA are online. So you don't have to have the big folders of all the QQI work to be sent off. You don't need to do that, so you just upload online, depending on what the actual task is. And then what happens is, if both of those things are there, so if they've passed the end test and they've done the portfolio work, our system, when it comes time for the QQI rounds, our system does a scan. So the next QQI round is the 17th of November. So at midnight on the 17th of November, we'll scan the system and say who has both of these things, so that the end test is passed and we see that the portfolio work is all uploaded and there or complete. And then if those two things are there, we will put them forward for assessment. So we have a panel of internal verifiers in NALA who will do this for you. So you don't have to do anything other than just make sure the stuff is there. So they assess everything, and then if the learner has passed, then they come back, they'll write feedback on Learn with NALA, and your learner will get a notification to say congratulations, you've passed your portfolio work. And then we tend to try and get the certs out within a couple of months, and they will be posted to your centre. So we do 2 QQI rounds a year. It's usually in November and May. So that's something, that's something just to be aware of if you're aiming for QQI awards. And it's just to mention as well that the portfolio work can be really different depending on the course itself. So I know career prep is a mock interview, that's part of the portfolio work. So what we do is we ask that learners book in with us for a mock interview about a week before the deadline, or I think that's the final deadline is a week. They must do it a week before. So just check what the instructions are on the portfolio section. So what I might just do really, really quickly now, because I find this just helps in terms of understanding the portfolio piece, is I'm just going to show you what a portfolio actually looks like on Learn with Nala, just to make it a little bit more real. So I'm just on my own account here, and I'm going to go to, let's go to Maths Level 3 because we've been talking a lot about it. And I'm going into content here to get to the lessons themselves. And then down the end of every, I'm just going to, my view is a little bit different to yours. I'm going to view it as a learner so you can see what it would look like if you were a learner. So this is what Maths Level 3, if you've ever done this one before, is huge. It's a really big course. But down the end here, we have our portfolio. So this is always open. So if you do things in class that are relevant, you can be tipping away at the portfolio. I'm just going into it here. I click the arrow up the top right here, and here are my instructions about what I need to do. So this is really important. So if you're signing learners up to courses, just take a look at the portfolio work instructions before you start the course, because this will tell you everything you need to do. And you can see here, just to mention, these little speakers are beside every piece of text on Learn with Nala, so learners can get the sentence read aloud for them if they want it. And then this just goes into what you need to do. So the first one is the maths drawings. So I'm going to go into this first one just to show you the upload piece. So this is what I have to do. I have to draw shapes with certain degrees and diameters and things like that. So I can free post it in to Nala if I want to do that. Or what I can do is upload it here. So I can click this upload button and it'll bring me to the files on my computer. So a lot of tutors will scan their learners' work and do this. So hopefully that makes that a little bit yeah, just to show you it is actually fairly straightforward, and it's meant to help you. It's meant to be something of assistance. So then I just want to briefly cover what do I already know. Now, this is kind of advanced. I just want to cover it today because you're here. If this doesn't make sense today, that's totally fine. You'll get this once you get the hang of the platform and once you're in and kind of using it. But what do I already know is an initial assessment or a pre-assessment. So the idea is to use recognition of prior learning to let learners fast track themselves through a course. So if a learner maybe gets everything correct in what they already know, they can just skip straight to the end test. So let me show you then how it works. So there are 3 ways they can get through the level 2 and 3 QQI courses. So the first one is if they do what you already know and they answer everything correctly in it, then they can go straight to the end test. So sometimes this is really helpful when you have learners with low confidence levels. Then the other thing that can happen is they do what you already know and all of the tasks are answered incorrectly. And in that case, they just do all the lessons anyway. So they just do everything in the course. And some learners just prefer to do all the lessons anyway. And that's fine. They don't have to do what you already know. It's just an option. And then the third thing that can happen is that some tasks are answered incorrectly. So say they get task 1, 2, and 3 correct, and they get, say, task 4 and task 7 incorrect. That means that they just need to do lesson 4 and lesson 7 because they only need to do the lessons for the task they answered incorrectly. So I'm going to show you what this means just in practical terms then on the self-advocacy module. So I'm going to show you, I've just done the what you already know initial assessment for self-advocacy. So it says, congratulations. So what I need to do now as a learner is check my progress. So I've completed that. Everything has disappeared from what you already know. And I'm going into my progress. So learners see my progress. And then it's the same as what you can see. There's a grades drop down. And I can see here, it says pass on the right there, 100 out of 100, pass. But look, on task 2 and task 1, it says go to lesson. So I know I need to do lesson 1 and lesson 2 because they're the only two that I didn't get correct. I'm not going to make you watch me do all that, but I will just show you what it looks like then when these are complete. So this is the end of lesson 2. So I've gone through it all. So this is yeah, one I've prepared earlier. And yeah, 17 out of 17. Congratulations. I got a badge to say that I've met the learning objective there. And here is the end test. So it's popped up for me because I've completed I've shown kind of prior learning and prior knowledge of this. So it has come up for me here. So I can complete the end test now, or I can try it. And if I pass that, then I can complete this course. So just to recap, the end test will only appear if you answer everything in the what do I already know section correctly, or you can just do all of the lessons anyway, or if you do the lessons based on the incorrect tasks. So that's what I just did there. So Jennifer, who runs our free phone, is always saying, if your learners are ever confused, just tell them to go to My Progress and click the grades drop down. If they ever don't know why, an end test isn't appearing, or if they've missed something, just get them to check their progress. And she's right. It's a great way to kind of help them, I suppose, figure out what's going on. So just to talk about the quick differences between what do I already know and the end test. Um, uh, Katrina, who used to work in NALA, used to say that the what do I already know is a little bit like the mocks. So you get one shot at what do I already know. It shows up at the top of the lesson, and you only get one chance to do it, and then everything, all the questions or the tasks, then it will disappear. And that makes sense, right? Because we can't have learners, doing it again and again and again, because then everyone would just fast track themselves through the lesson. So the end test is a little bit different because you can do that as many times as you want. You can repeat it. So she would say that it's a little bit like the Leaving Cert, that you have an opportunity to repeat it. And nobody knows, like, we don't keep track of how many times a learner tries an end test. It's totally fine if they want to retake it. And we won't make them redo any parts of the lessons if they keep getting it wrong or anything like that. So then just, well, we're nearly finished now, but just some tips then. If it comes up on what do I already know or the end test, if it gives the option to check answers, just make sure to get the learners to click that, because that actually will submit their score. So when I first started this, I was a little bit cocky about some of my answers, or I thought, oh yeah, that's right. I don't need to check that. And I just click next, and then it didn't actually submit the answer. So just make sure that they do that. And then for you as tutors, just some kind of useful information. We use different words depending on what part of the lesson that the learner is in. So task is used when learners are in what we already know. We use the word lesson when they're in the lessons themselves. And then we use question, like question 1, question 2, question 3, when they're in the end test. So if someone puts up their hand or says to you, I'm stuck on task 4, you'll know they're in the what we already know initial assessment. Or if they say, I'm on lesson 5, you'll know that they're doing the lessons themselves. The other thing to mention is that even if a learner gets a question wrong in the end test, when we look at the main course homepage, it'll have a tick beside it, because we put ticks beside everything that the learner has visited or has gone to. So like if a learner is, say, halfway, if they've gone up to, lesson 3, there'll be a tick beside lesson 1, 2, and up to lesson 3. It just means that they visited the screen. So sometimes this is really confusing for learners, because they think, well, it's a tick, like that means I got it right, but it just means that they've visited it or they've been there. Again, if I hear Jennifer when I say this, but learners should go and check their progress, and then they'll know if they need to retake any part of the end test. It'll say redo if they haven't passed something. Then just like to flag with you, when you get set up with your tutor accounts and when learners get set up with their own learner accounts, we have something called the Getting Started Guide. This is a video that pops up, or a series of, there'll be about 5 videos for you, and that'll pop up with instructions with the kind of stuff I'm talking about today. Um, if you want to just go through that quickly, you just click the blue next buttons, and then you click the last one will say dismiss in a blue button, and that gets rid of it, and then it won't pop up again. I know some learners or some tutors X out of it with the top right hand X there, and then it keeps coming up for them every time they go in. So sometimes they mention to me that it's a bit frustrating. The other thing to point you to is the tutor guide. So you have a help section on your navigation bar when you go into your homepage, and you can get a manual. Basically, the tutor guide is like a manual on Learn with Nala, so it has way more information than what I can cover today. So sometimes it can be helpful to print it and have it beside you when you're getting used to using the platform. Um, I don't know if you're aware of Nala's resources as well, but you have a direct link here with the tutor resources. We have a guide here on what resources match what courses. So say you're doing reading level 2, we'll suggest some of our worksheets and workbooks that might go along with that, because it can be nice. A lot of learners like having a bit of the digital, a bit of kind of paper resources as well. So you can take a look at that, it's handy. And then the other thing to mention is you just need to have the latest version of Google or Firefox or whatever you're using. It'll prompt you to update it when you try to log in. Then to mention, we have learner resources on YouTube. So Nala is on YouTube now. And I have made a playlist for learners that kind of goes through introductory information. So you can point them to that if they want, or we also have a learner video help section on their website as well. So here's Mike Smith's account. And you can see here's the help section for learners on the navigation bar. And they have videos. So some of the titles is very small text, but you have things like, how do I access my course? Or how do I check my results for what do I already know? So it gives information on this. So if you're trying to support learners' independence or their own digital skills, sometimes it can be good to point them to this rather than, immediately jumping to answer their questions. And then for troubleshooting, then I know I mentioned this a good few times, but if you have any issues, you're just starting out with this. So if you do have issues or technical queries, just call the free phone. You can call Jennifer at this number, or you can email with your question. That's no problem to give her a shout. She's very experienced about kind of guiding people over the phone. If you have new tutors, then I really recommend that they do training. I much prefer have people come or ask me for training rather than kind of, floundering or not knowing what to do. So just email me if you want training. And then if you want resources, then, so this is our order resources form. So these are some of our resources that we have. We've over 1,000 resources on the website, which seems mad, but it's a lot. So if you want to order any of our workbooks, you can do that. You don't need to be, a center manager or an ALO or something to order 10 workbooks. You can just use the form that I've linked in the previous slide, and use them with your learners if you have classes. And then just to mention it to you then, with tutor accounts, you also get free access to these professional development courses. Whoops. So these courses take about 45 minutes to an hour to do. So these are for you, for your own learning. If you want to know a little bit more about maybe literacy or integrating literacy or preparing learning materials for adults, you can do these. There's no project work or, testing as part of it. It's just professional development. And yeah, you have access to that as well with your account. Oh yeah, so this is just to remind me to ask for feedback. So I'll pop that in the chat box now. And that's everything. So what I'll do is I'll stop my sharing, and I'm just going to stop the recording. And then if anyone has any questions,